got one to admit. That blue box, there you go.
And then hit the video one right at the bottom, it should be good.
There you
This
go.
one here?
Yeah, perfect.
Perfect. Okay.
Oh, it's just the acting chair.
No, I'm not, this is, I'm a
Thinking of
member of the
past
public.
meetings.
Who wants to kick us off? Those committee membership,
Mr. Girardi?
Mr. Girardi.
Well,
You have an agenda?
Do you want the agenda?
we had, where's Juliana?
You got a great protocol. Someone's got to call the meeting to order and run through your agenda until you get to electing a chair.
Yeah, why don't we jump to elect the vice chair and that person can be.
That's at your discretion, Mr. Chair.
No, anyway. I guess we'll go to order. You know, this is, it started off as just being an informal thing and all of a sudden it became a regular committee meeting, which is fine. But, you know, Tommy, you know more about it than anybody. We've been blessed with this huge endowment from Eugene. And we gotta be really judicial about the way we use it. And I really think we should definitely honor his wishes about the fountain because it was on the agenda, our agenda, before Eugene even came into the picture. So I think that's a really important thing to do. And tell us a little about what your understanding.
Sure. Well, I think as most of you know, I'm the successor trustee. Eugene Cozy was the original trustee of his trust. When he passed, I was named the successor trustee. His trust, as it's currently configured, he did it about 10 years ago. You know, we had a conversation. Some charities have come and gone. It was only most recently that the bulk of the funds went to the city of Barre and to Hope Cemetery. So that was probably about 3 years ago that he made that change, that particular change. The fountain is just kind of a, you know, cute story. Ethically, so a lot of people meet Karen at a party and I'll introduce her and they'll say, well, you know me, Tom's my accountant. And Karen's like, no, Tom doesn't talk about his business at home. And you don't, you know, ethically. So we were having lunch with Eugene one day and Eugene was talking. So, you know, Karen was aware of all this stuff. And I said, you know, Eugene, I don't discuss, you know, my appointments or my business anywhere. And so Eugene started telling Karen about Hope Cemetery. He said, you know, about his family was originally in the granite industry, and that industry, his childhood, you know, he remembers all of that. And which is why he chose the mausoleum work. You know, those were those were his fond childhood memories. And Eugene was he was a fun guy. He was a complicated guy at times. Literally spent his lifetime trying to replicate Mrs. Dan Leone's ravioli recipe. Never succeeded to his satisfaction. And, you know, when you would talk to him, he would say, you know, Del's Pizza was the best pizza. And he would talk about how him and his friends, when they were walking back from the lighthouse, they would stop and they'd get a piece of Del's Pizza. And he said it was the best pizza in the world. But Gene probably didn't realize is it wasn't the ravioli, it wasn't the pizza, it's what was happening as you were eating the pizza and eating it. But he was having this conversation with Karen and it turned to Hope Cemetery. And he said, I'm gonna do something great for Hope Cemetery. And Karen said, oh, do a fountain. Karen just loves fountains. And she said, oh, do a fountain. And the two of them talked about a fountain for about 45 minutes. And he changed his bequest to Hope Cemetery to request the addition of a fountain, you know, with his name on it. And, so I think that would be a good thing. I'm sure, you know, he was really pleased with the mausoleum. It's a shame that he passed in October, and we were actually, his health took a turn for the worse in August. But we had actually talked about, having him stay at the Reynolds Inn, and we were gonna try, he had a caretaker at that point. And we were gonna get him on a plane and take him up here to see the mausoleum, but that obviously never happened. So I think, you know, the fountain, I love the idea. And I think Hope Cemetery, and I know all of you, thank you. I should have started by saying thank you, because you're all here because you care so much about the industry, about the history of the industry, about Hope Cemetery. And, you know, I think this is just such an incredible opportunity. You know, the city doesn't exactly have excess cash hanging around. And so to think of, okay, when could the city do meaningful upgrades to Hope Cemetery, absent this bequest? Not in my lifetime. So I think we have an incredible opportunity here, not only for the fountain, but also, you know, with Rock of Ages closing the tourist center and with hundreds of buses looking for something to do. I think we've got an incredible opportunity, because no one I know, if I've directed relatives or friends who are visiting and I've directed them to Hope Cemetery, nobody's ever come to me afterwards and said, what a waste of time. They've come to me raving about Hope Cemetery, about the monuments and the lives and what an amazing.
Whatever. It's really good. I mean, they could hit you up with the nuts and bolts of the fountain and how to make that work, and things that none of us at this table know about. But anyway, it's an option. I think it's something worth looking at. Take a look at them online. You'll see the kind of things they've done. They go it all the way through plantings and everything else. Very first class. I've been to many of their cemeteries, and they're all the best. They're really good. But it's interesting what you said about, oh, I was on a plane somewhere in an airport, and it just got something zinged onto me online. And it was an article about I think it was the 20 best cemeteries in the world. And it comes on, I'm saying, wow, this will be interesting. I go on there. There was 2 cemeteries for the United States, one in Savannah, Georgia, and Hope. They were on that list. The rest were all over the world. The world knows about Hope. We don't know about Hope. We don't give it enough credit. I think it's a big draw card. And I really like looking into the fact that we might consider making some sort of tourist center and area for buses to come in. We've had an initial conversation at the BGA, not sure anybody's interested in it, but possibly the BGA could hold an office at this place, rent space, and be part of helping develop a program for people going through the cemetery, whatever. So that's all on the table, or options. But I don't know quite how to go about starting. It's a big deal.
Yeah, it's, you know, one thing that I think is really lacking at Hope, the one thing that I have heard consistently, no restrooms. You know, people get off the bus and they, you know, wherever they're coming from, it's been at least an hour ride and they need to go to the bathroom. And, you know, we have no bathrooms there, you know, in this day. So even thinking about some of this money and saying, well, it's simple enough, but even you know, a restroom faced in granite, you can make them, of course, you know, we've had our own experiences with public restrooms in the city. You know, you can make them pretty bulletproof. Yeah, you can make them so they clean very easily. You can make them so they self-clean. And with today's technology, if you've got Wi-Fi, you can lock it and unlock it anytime you want. So, you know, bus drivers could have a code that only lasts. It's like, okay, if you're gonna be there 3 hours, here's your package, here's your code, unlock the restroom, and it will be unlocked for 3 hours. And when that bus leaves 3 hours later, that code disappears from the platform, and you know, you gotta have a new code. So there's, you know, I think a restroom would be pretty, you know, if you were really gonna make it a tourist attraction, and it is now, you know, the number of people who just find their way there through articles or through people saying, you've really got to see Hope Cemetery. It's, I think, the one amenity that's really, really lacking.
Yeah,
She's nodding her head because you've probably given more tours up there than anyone in Barre, and
we don't promote it, there's no doubt, and if we do, that 100 buses could become 300 buses. The one thing I kind of saw that was interesting for me when we built Eugene's monument was the amount of people that do visit that on a regular basis. And if something comes up that's new, it was amazing how many people came to just see that. So people are very interested, local people, out-of-state people, whatever, you see out-of-state cars there all the time. So I'm all for beefing it up and making it better. But I think we gotta maybe itemize, what does the cemetery need? Does it need, you know, hardcore renovations in any department that, you know, this money, I assume, is available for that kind of thing as well? For like, if you needed to replumb it or pave it or whatever.
oh yeah, I mean, Nicholas has the, you know, I've already provided, you know, stipulations to, and they're pretty broad.
They are quite broad. In fact, even, I thought I was telling Tom, like, it's even, you know, I never met Eugene, but it was, I could see how he humbly asked for a fountain, because even the fountain itself is like, I would like, not there shall be, but I think we all recognize there should be, right, for his memory, but it's a very broad, it just for the betterment of Hope Cemetery, whatever, you know, we think that might be.
Now, there's another pot of money that was left a few years ago. Carol had set up an account for it. The gentleman left $55,000. And again, it just says to be used towards Hope Cemetery.
Right. Yeah, there's definitely these good resources that, you know, that we can use to make these, you know, and they're very, very broad. So it's up to sort of the judgment of all the stakeholders to figure out, what that best use is.
And, you know, and there may be some, you know, it's nice to talk about the additions, but there could be some functional upgrades that are needed
I
as well.
think that I always wanted to have all the stones in Hope clean, the old ones, the people who, I mean, they're all in, you know, the perpetual care and whatnot, which means they get mowed around and stood upright if they fall over, but if they could be washed, I think that would be really great, and I don't think that would take a huge chunk out of it anyway.
That's all gonna be up to Nicholas. I mean, honestly, as trustee, you know, beyond that, I have zero authority, and I've already told Nicholas that, look, you know, the auditors have the stipulations, you know, I don't intend on any level to be, you know, micromanaging any of this. That's not my role. I mean, my role is actually, I'm going as quick as I can to get this trust wound down. Probably I'm about, I'd say 90% there. There's about 300,000 left. All of the other money I've already given to Nicholas, and I've just got some taxes to pay and some forms to file. And as soon as I can, I'm gonna, you know, I'll terminate the trust, give a final accounting to Nicholas, and that's the end of my involvement.
When we're talking about the fountain, I know there was an issue with the infrastructure, the water coming in and going out was all.
That's what the old fountain.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
a brand, this would be brand new, but we still have to think about the cost of.
Right, but and that's why we decided on that spot, because
Okay.
water's close by, power will have to come underground
Yep,
from Route 14 in.
okay.
And I'm not sure we possibly, but again, this is why I think we should talk to a company that's done this kind of thing before. I think you can recirculate the water
Yeah,
instead of, you know, you wanna pay constant Barre water bills through there, you go broken heart, that 3 million won't go far.
Will help the water fund.
Yeah, that's normally what they do. I mean, but normally there is some sort of overflow, but I'm not sure where's the nearest wastewater line there. It's gotta run.
It's gotta be
Route
Route 14, yeah, Route 14.
So it wouldn't be a horrible thing. You don't, I mean, yeah, generally you recirculate the water, but you also want the ability to change the water, to drain it and get rid of it if it.
Well, especially with.
Yeah, you get a humid climate, it goes algae on you and then you gotta.
I mean, you probably gotta put a flocculant in it or something.
Don't know.
If you want, I can contact that company, Greener Water, just to get it, just say, we're thinking about this kind of thing. And I know they've done it in the past, and I can see what they have to bring to the table. I won't make any promises, but I think it's a good place to start. Cause none of us know how to build a fountain properly. And like, you'll need some sort of architect or something involved, no matter what.
Yeah, and they have the engineers, they have.
Yeah, they've done it, they've done a number of them.
And you could, I mean, I'm hearing two good ideas, you could do them both. So our artists certainly have the ability to create the vision. They, they may not know how to build a fountain, they've never done it. But you could still present the vision to a company and say, this is what we want. Now tell us how we build it.
No question. I mean, somebody local might come up with some fantastic idea. It's very possible.
And
I question the ability of all of us to do a fountain properly. Not from the standpoint of holding the water in, but more from the standpoint of how proper flow and how much water you're gonna need and how many gallons per minute you gotta have and all this stuff. Because to me, we don't want one of these. We want one of these, something that's significant. And anyway, I think we should definitely throw it out there. We should first agree, do we agree with the location? Like Jeff had said, we had come up with that idea originally. Seems to make a lot of sense, but is there a better location?
What was the spot? I'm sorry, I missed that.
Originally, we talked about where the flagpole is now.
Oh, right in the middle there.
You're coming right in the entrance.
Yeah.
But if you're going to think about a columbarium, is there enough room there to?
Not sure. I didn't measure it out.
I don't think so.
It's pretty narrow strip.
It's not a wide
No,
strip.
no. No, it's.
But I know the columbarium issue had been on the table before the fountain issue.
Right,
So we've got people passionate about that one too.
and we talked about columbariums up on the undeveloped section.
Right, which is,
And what are we gonna do with the old fountain site? That's not in the
big flower bed. I'm dying to do that.
Well, I mean, I can remember having a discussion about restoring the old fountain, and the big impediment was $50,000. That we didn't have $50,000 to spend restoring the old fountain.
But the old
So-
fountain's made out of concrete,
Mhm.
it's really junky, and
It kind of is, but it's also, there could be those who say, okay, but that's part of, I don't even know the history of that fountain, if it was donated, if the DPW made it in a bored moment, I have no, I don't know anything about the history of the fountain, but I probably, before we just, yank it out, I just want to learn, like, okay, well, what happened? Was it a Eugene Cozy from the 1800s who put that fountain there in the first place? I don't know the answer to that question.
I like your
And-
idea about.
I think we counted that fountain out because we couldn't get electricity to it
No, it's gonna be,
and
yeah,
there
we'd have to
could
get
get
a
water
power
to it.
Well, we could, but it was, I remember the conversation, it was just, everybody's like, how much is it gonna cost to bring our electricity? Oh, 50 grand, okay, that's the end of that.
So this is the spot you're thinking, Jeff, Mark, right, this
Mhm.
entrance where the flagpole is?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I wonder if it is narrow, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily it might not allow for both, but it's a great spot for it too, and it's probably. If we have to do connections off of 14, that's a pretty good spot to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
cause those lines run right where that yellow line is now.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they're probably running around.
Water and sewer run right
Yeah.
down through there.
What's the front lawn? Like, you've got that roadway there. Is that front lawn used for anything besides green space?
Just green space right now.
Yeah,
Just green space.
Where would you
so
put,
if you wanted to create parking or something there, you could. And don't worry, I'm not suggesting we pave over the whole thing, but it would be interesting to contact a company and say, we need a phased plan. In other words, what we want to do, we want to see, we wanna see 1,000 buses a year at Hope Cemetery. But we also have to remember it's a cemetery. So, you know, present them with that whole plan and say, okay, well, here's our step one, fountain. But show us what the cemetery might look like over the next 25 years with a phased approach and wanting to make it kind of an outdoor museum. And they might save us from ourselves when we do something and then 10 years from now, people are saying, we wish they hadn't put that there because it really, you know, backed us into a corner.
But if you're looking at, there's something for a tourist center, where they,
I'd
Wait,
put,
Up and
I'd
up
put
a
it
lot.
right to the,
to the right,
what is it?
Barre Town.
Yeah, right,
okay.
Right there.
and that's Barre Town.
This is,
Yeah.
it's Barre Town, it's owned by the city. It's, yeah, I mean, that could be a spot there maybe,
And honestly, if they, you know, for the right project, I'd like to think that if we went to Barre Town and said, look, we want to adjust the city town line a little bit so that we can be a little more visionary with hope. I don't think there'll be a lot of resistance. And if there is, we'll raise their water rates.
We paid property taxes on that.
yeah.
I get it, but
mean, this
some projects are a little more important than a little bit of property.
This is
tax.
a little bit smaller spot here, but this is another area right off of 14, obviously, but.
Yeah.
Tom Baker and I were brainstorming about I know the bathroom has come up before, we were brainstorming. If it's a standalone bathroom, this could be an area down here just because of its proximity to the connections, right? Like you would.
So there's now a little retention pond, just down a little ways from where you were.
Right here.
Right there.
Stormwater?
Yeah, that's from the stage project a couple years ago, yeah.
Also, I was looking, the entrance a little lower.
This one?
Here, some.
Yeah, show us
Where
the
the-
back,
Where the
the
old entrances.
old entrance, yeah,
Is it this one right here?
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So you could get up in there pretty, again, it would pretty easy access.
Right.
And that would make sense if people are coming in from out of state, I mean, maybe not Canada coming down from the north, but definitely coming in from the interstate, that's gonna be
Yeah,
the-
the way,
on the way in.
yeah.
Yes.
And you know, it's in that little crevice, so you're not,
Up the way.
Is that the original entrance, like,
Yes,
that's the other one? Oh, okay, so the other one didn't exist. So when's the other one done?
I don't know.
Oh.
But yeah, there's pictures, I've seen old pictures where that's the main entrance, and then when you came up, the fountain was right there at the top of the hill.
Oh, right there, right.
Yeah.
Right here, yeah. You walked in, that's what you saw.
Yep.
Lot of opportunity, for sure. But yeah, I think, Mark, your idea of talking to that company you mentioned, it's a starting point. Get us something
Might
to
be-
work off of.
Might be an idea. Does that make sense for us? You don't have to obviously go all in or whatever. I think I could get, if we wanted, we could have them come here, make a presentation. Might be interesting at some point, not the first conversation, but to send this kind of view of the cemetery. That's what they do. If you go on their website and see, they're great at planning and taking what you've got next and improving or whatever. That's what they do. That's all they do is cemeteries. So.
Where are all of our records are?
In Donnie's office.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Are they
That's why we need that
upstairs?
software.
Are they upstairs?
I think they're just frankly,
There.
yeah, in the building. Yeah. We're doing we were just talking about that today, about doing demos for software to get all of those records digitized and reducing the amount of paper. That
You don't like those cardboard maps?
I could do without. So,
Yeah.
All right, so I'll touch base with them.
Yeah.
Report back.
So do the two of you talk to anyone in the industry about just possibilities and, you know, what is the industry's feedback? Or
I think
after that,
any
what do you think?
manufacturer would be happy to collaborate on the project to
Yeah,
see it built, you know.
Yeah.
should-
I know we can get help. Just not sure, back in the day, Rock of Ages would have donated the granite.
Yeah.
Not sure we'll see that anymore, maybe get a deal on it. Whatever, but yeah, to be honest with you, I don't think this is a huge ton of cubic foot of granite anyway.
Mhm.
It's just what you do with it and how you use it. But yeah, the industry will be in on it, I'm sure.
Well, but even looking to the manufacturers, I mean, obviously, Eugene wanted his name on the phone somewhere. But if this sort of morphed into more of a community / manufacturers project as well, and they were a significant contributor, knowing him, he'd probably be thrilled. He'd definitely be thrilled to say, okay,
from
so my
my-
money went further, yes, Eugene, it did, I'm okay.
From my viewpoint, I think the front should be Eugene
Mhm.
tastefully. And if you want to put anybody who will along the way, put it on the back or something, that's fine. But I don't think it's necessary, quite
I
frankly.
mean, Mark, there are people in Barre who can write a $25,000 check in a New York minute.
Yeah.
So there could be others that if you said, look, the plan is to have a plan for cemetery, you can have a 20-year plan of, how we obviously maintain it first and foremost, because we'll never forget that it's a cemetery, it's a working cemetery. But also how we accommodate visitors who may want to come and, and appreciate our history, and appreciate what our manufacturers do and what our artists do. This could turn into something bigger.
Oh, I think this could become something really good for the whole municipality. But you need to go that extra bit. You're gonna have to build that tourist center and possibly think about relocating the BGA there. Because they have a person, they have somebody who can help staff, and it would save money in that direction as well.
Absolutely.
And I think that's all a great vision, and you could work that into, a phase plan and that piece, the piece with the BGA or having someone there all the time. I mean, could happen in a year, could happen in 10 years, it could happen in 5 years. It's just kind of pulling everything together and saying, look, this is sort of our end game. And we know that, this isn't a 2-year project. We're gonna be a while doing this, but this is our vision, to have the BGA there, to have someone there, even though, Hope isn't open 365 days a year as a working cemetery. We have someone there 365 days a year.
Well, to me, it makes more sense to have it there than to send people down to the Granite Museum, to-
Well, they can do both.
Yeah,
Well, they,
they're gonna do that too.
I mean,
Yeah.
they already.
I mean, they're complementary because obviously, if
Probably.
someone said, look, I just had another guy donate $2 million to create a big tourist center at Hope Cemetery, I'd be recoiling a little bit, saying, look, let's be careful. It's where people are buried. So, it's not Disney World. It's a little more thoughtful than that, and we have to be thoughtful with it. So I think the two complement each other, wonderfully. This is the end result. Now we'll take you to the Granite Museum and show you how that all happens.
Right.
What we don't see from here in Barre, Vermont, again, we've got this gem sitting there, and it's here because of the industry and the people that have had the talent. But there are cemeteries out there that full-time give tours and show people professionally around. You book a slot, you don't just show up. It's something that gets booked a lot of times through these buses, but those places are out there. And this could be one of those destinations, no doubt.
And I'm sure they probably have the computer programs where you can go right into the visitor center and say, I'm looking for Paul Ozon's monument. And they'll just boom, boom,
Yeah.
print it out, here you go, little map, take you right to it.
Well, Nichols will have that software.
We'll have that software.
I'm sure we can maybe do a public component of it.
We've seen an
But that's
example
the
of your
big people
software
that-
already.
That is
It
a big
is,
part
and
of
that's,
it.
a lot of big cemeteries do that.
Yeah, they do that down at Arlington.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'll
I'm
get back to you on
gonna look up that website, I think it would be wise to contact them and get at least a start on it, a preliminary, feedback from them on, hey, what could you guys see doing with this space? Because like you said, it's all they do is cemetery, so they're already mindful of the fact that it's not.
They,
It's not primarily an attraction, it's
Mhm.
primarily a resting place for loved ones.
they've worked with 4,000 cemeteries, so
Just,
Yeah,
they've been around the horn a little bit.
yeah, just curious, what do you own on the other side of the road where the garage is?
Pretty much
I
all.
think that most of that
Yeah,
lot.
if you look, you pull up, it's not too far up behind there,
It runs into a ledge.
there's a gate with an old road that goes up, and it pretty much doesn't go too far beyond that.
It's pretty.
You were saying on the very town side, Tom?
No, where Don's
No.
garage is.
Oh,
Across
Donnie's
from the
garage.
Donnie's.
This is all cow pasture
Oh,
right
there it
here.
goes, yeah, it goes.
It's all
to the
cow
top of
pasture.
that
It's all
hill.
cow pasture?
Yeah, this is all cow pasture.
It goes right into my house.
It's
Right.
steep, it's really steep. If
It's-
you go almost where the entrance is, there's a road, it goes sort of up the bank like, it doesn't go up like this, it goes this way because it's so
There's an
steep.
access road for, yeah.
But that's what they can.
Yeah, but this is all cow pasture up here.
I'm just.
Yeah,
You know,
it's,
being a little selfish. Maybe the visitor center goes on that side. You have a lot of people crossing the road, but you can keep all your activities away from the sanctuary portion of the. Maybe I did it there, that's the only thing.
I feel like the old entrance, I'm not a big fan of cutting down trees, but if we left a little bit of a buffer of trees and use the old entrance, that's where people are coming in already. On their way in up 14, and
Well, not the
right
way-
now, it's
not the
literally
lowest-
dead space.
The lowest one is exit only.
Yeah.
The next one up, where Santine's little mausoleum is, you can go in,
So
but
it's,
not the first one coming up.
that just gives you a sense, it's a little, this is probably one of the flatter stretches right here. And this gives you sort of the view of it, but the rest of it, like up close to Donnie's, does get pretty.
Yeah, it's.
I
pretty-
think having
pretty
people
steep.
cross the road's really sketchy.
Yeah, that would be the
It's
sketchy
gonna,
part of it.
like,
Right.
it's gonna be really sketchy.
Yeah, because that's a busy road.
It's very good.
And those buses are full of people that are not young.
Mm.
yeah, and yeah, that's the mobility
And,
issue
yeah.
is always something.
Yeah.
But the city owns, this is the Dufrain lot right here. I can't see the very town lines, but I believe we own like right up through the, Jeff, do you remember? I think it's right
Just
to that line.
beyond. So where's the trailer?
This is the trailer right here. I think is it this right here?
Yeah.
We don't
Right
own
along
this
that
part right
edge.
there. Yeah, or maybe, I think we do own this piece
No,
right here, no?
that's private.
That's probably, okay, so we own this section right here then.
Yeah.
Okay.
We own a chunk.
It's a good chunk, yeah. I mean, this is another, maybe here, right, like maybe the trailer's not there, like,
Hopefully,
the trailer doesn't need to be there.
right, I mean, you're renting from us.
Hey,
You
your
can
trunk
always-
can grab Greenland.
Yeah.
Grabbed a couple acres. There it's at.
Yeah,
So the area with the circle drive in it, down low. in it,
that's ours,
That's
all very, it's owned by the city. Part of it is in the Berry city lines, part of it, this part right here that the mouse is on is Berry town, but we own it, and we were just saying, we own probably till like right there.
Yep.
So, I mean, that trailer, that's, maybe that's a spot, right, like,
Exactly.
who knows?
Because that portion too, if it's not right up against the whole section
Mm-hmm.
of the cemetery, it's enough of a. I feel like it gives it enough room to be respectful of.
Yeah.
Putting up a structure with
Right,
that.
that might actually be the spot to go, and there's gotta be water sewer connections
Yeah,
there.
there,
Like, some sort of functional hall for people who have good funerals and then
Yeah.
want a gathering place afterwards.
Yeah.
That's not Elks Club or the Canadian Club,
Yeah.
or, like
It could
something updated.
transform to us,
so
yeah.
the space between the undeveloped section and the trailer
Right here,
is snow storage,
yes,
Is what?
snow storage,
snow storage. When we clear the streets,
that's where it
when
goes,
they dump it all up there.
yeah.
But does that?
But we don't, no one's gonna be using this cemetery building, the proposed cemetery building in the winter anyway, as long, maybe it's the building and the parking lot next to the building, and then you guys dump in that parking lot. I don't
We probably would dump somewhere else. I mean, you know, now it's far enough away, no one really thinks about that area where that sort of dark area next to the light area where we dump. No one really thinks of that as a cemetery. Because it's just so rough and undeveloped, and there's a little bit of a tree buffer. You know, if we were to start to develop the area and say, well, this is part of the cemetery too, we'd have to, you know, you don't want to be done. It's not pretty when it melts. I mean, the guys spend, you know, the better part of a week picking the trash out of the snow that gets dumped there.
That's what it's, yeah, that's what it's like now, or that's what it looks like, it's, but. Yeah, there are a lot of, I mean, a lot of good options, I think we can certainly, we have lots of ideas to throw around. You all should elect the vice chair too before you go.
So that you could,
Yeah, I think this, absolutely, yeah, this is the city's GIS, it's on, I'll send you a way to access it.
I'll probably just,
You want it in a 6x10 wallpaper?
I'll probably actually go out there, because I got customers out there anyway, and I could make there's a tremendous cemetery in Rochester, New York, that they work with. Resurrection, I think it's the name of it, and I might talk to them as well, because I know they are the client, and I've talked to them a little bit about it before, but they also do these tours, and it may be worth some of you going out there to see, you know, what other people do, because our cemetery is every bit as spectacular as any. And we just happen to be a small little town.
You still have that article
Which one?
when you were referencing earlier about the top 20 cemeteries?
No, I couldn't find it again.
put it online, right?
Yeah.
There.
It was fantastic. I didn't expect to see Hope. Hope was like number 10. Just people.
It's funny when I think about Hope and I realize how little I actually know about it. Like how big was, you know, and you start asking obvious questions like, well, okay, that was the original entrance, how big was it? You know, and how did it expand, and when did they put that in?
1895.
1895 is when they put that entrance, the second, what we call the main entrance now.
The beginnings,
You're
1895.
talking about,
Yes.
you're talking about the lower one.
the lower.
Yeah. The big Tom was.
Oh, I'm talking about the
The main.
upper entrance, what we call the main entrance now, how old is that? I mean, it's been there as long as actually
Well,
remember about.
It's turn of the century.
Okay.
It's been there for a long time.
Was it Ambrosini that carved it?
He was one of them. There were 10.
And one was a Maury.
Yeah.
And Induni, was there in Induni?
So the other thing we do gotta make sure, I think we wanna elect a vice chair. Can we do that today? Are we calling this an official meeting?
Is Giuliano on Zoom?
He's not,
Or he's not present for the.
he's not present, but you do have a quorum, they were able to.
I think I said this to Eileen and Mark earlier, I think it's worth a conversation and, the conversation we've all been having with each other and with you at times, about the fact that Juliana hasn't been communicating, or setting meetings. You guys haven't met since May of last year?
July.
Of last year?
The one meeting.
So, you know, that to me is challenging. And if we're talking about electing a vice chair, you know, what are the responsibilities? And you know,
Well, if he's not. I think you're right, and thank you for the suggestion that
I just. feel
I
like
always find it
it's-
best to have a kind, thoughtful conversation first. But it's not fair to the city, it's not fair to you as members, if he is not engaging, that's not acceptable. And it's not acceptable if you want to be chair, then you're chair. If you want to be chair, there's responsibility that comes with that. If you don't want to acknowledge and live up to that responsibility, I can remove you really quickly, and that is what.
I'm of the mind, it's either step up or step down.
You got
And,
it. But if you elect a vice chair, and you can do that, you can elect a vice chair at this meeting. You
well, I
have
don't
a
know
quorum.
why it was even on the agenda, to start with.
Giuliano set the agenda?
I had suggested it because I noticed that you do not have one. And so I think in the situations where I was looking through, I spent a lot of time with the rules of procedure recently for unrelated issues. And so looking through the rules of procedure, the chairs are typically elected annually in July. So what I had talked to Mark, because we were talking about sort of the cozy trust generally. And the issue of arranging a meeting, and so what I suggested is, even though it appears that electing a chair should wait till July, after all the appointments are made at the, annually, that's when the council sort of re-ups everyone. You could elect a vice chair now, because you don't have one. And that person as vice chair, sort of in the absence of the chair acting, can arrange meetings, set agendas, sort of fill in the gap that you have at the moment. So that was my suggestion. I think you should do it because that way you have somebody sort of that the committee has designated in a leadership role. And then when July comes, and the council has appointed or reappointed or not appointed people to the committee, then you can, at your first organizational meeting, select your new chair and your new vice chair for the next year. So, that's just my suggestion.
Yeah, it would make it a lot less awkward, because right now the chair sets the agenda. Absent the chair active, the vice chair steps out, and the vice chair to set the agenda, but you're kind of in this weird.
Well, then you're in a weird position of like, are you gonna do it or am I gonna do it?
You ask
And I'll
once.
answer my email, how do I know if you're gonna do it?
Yeah, and like I said, you're really thoughtful, and I am too, I asked once. And I don't have time.
Given
Days, I asked once, and so if I were vice chair, Giuliano was chair, you're gonna, we're supposed to meet every month. We met at this date, you weren't there, no problem, we elected this vice chair, would you like to set the agenda for the meeting? If you don't get a response, I give people 2 days, and then you move on.
given, the whole new ramifications of this money we've received and the fact that we've got some serious projects to look at, we shouldn't waste time. We should try to keep this moving forward out of respect to Eugene more than anything. I mean, he did a great thing for us, and I'm not saying rush into it, but let's follow up. It's that longer that sits around, the less chance it's gonna be used professionally the way he wants it. I think the question ought to go to Giuliano, do you still want to be chair? Because he hasn't really been involved that much.
Well, he's up for appointment in July. Obviously, if he wants to be reappointed, he's got to let the council know sometime in June. So in the not too distant future, even absent a response, we're gonna get a response, even if the response is simply silence. But in the meanwhile, all of you deserve a committee that can function, and right now you don't have that, so.
So if we elect a vice chair today,
Mhm.
and then the official next year officers aren't elected to July,
Mhm.
then the vice chair could hold a meeting April and May.
Yes,
June.
sure could.
Yes.
Or even, what I'd suggest is that you elect a vice chair, and that the cemetery committee, set meeting dates for, April, May, and June. And then you're set. Then you don't have to go to the chair. The only conversation is going to be, we voted to have these meetings. Would you like to set the agenda?
I make a motion, Heather, to be the vice chair.
A second.
You have to call the vote.
Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody against?
I'm happy to.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're up.
Thank you.
In the absence of the chair, you're running the meeting now. Or as we say in council chambers, you've got the con, Captain.
And that's a thoughtful way of doing it, because in the event that Juliana decides to, it's seamless, because you're still the lead to it.
So,
So Madam Chair, I think it would be appropriate if the cemetery committee would, oh, you're welcome. If the cemetery committee would set a meeting date for April, May and June, just to keep things moving along.
Yeah, we should do that. I propose that we set a different day to meet. I know in the past, 11 o'clock has worked for people because it's generally lunchtime. But if we could do it at 3 o'clock, that would be really great for me.
I thought we changed it one time to 3:30, wasn't it?
Yeah,
3:30? Well, I was at,
Juliana was teaching.
Yeah, Juliana was finished school at
Yeah.
3:30.
okay, so maybe we should set all the meetings for 3:30, does that work for everyone?
Yes.
Sure.
And today's the 27th. I know it took us a long time to get this meeting. I propose that we set the next meeting. Is there a time of day or a day of the week that does not work for people?
Wednesdays don't work for me.
We usually have Mondays, they're good for everyone.
I think Monday is a really good day for me.
Okay, let's stick with Mondays, 3:30. How does the 14th sound? That way it's in the middle of the month.
Easter Monday is the 21st, so we could do it today.
You think the 20th, Easter Monday,
Yeah, because we usually have it on the 3rd.
on the third week of the month?
For the month.
I'm gonna be gone
You're gonna be gone.
to Florence for Easter.
Could we do it on the 14th, just for April?
Poor Mark.
What day?
You can zoom in, can't you, Mark? You can zoom in, can't you?
Yeah,
It's no excuse.
he got in from Argentina. Probably one of those other guys, but.
Say again, Heather, please.
Could we do the 14th of April at 3:30?
Mhm.
And then the 19th of May?
I'll be able to do that.
Oh my goodness, you people are killing me.
Oh, but that's okay. May 19th.
I'm in.
And then whatever people prefer, either the 16th or the 23rd of June.
Is there a possibility about going back to May to have it maybe on the 12th? Then like you, that's the second.
Right.
Yep.
Okay,
On the 12th?
the 12th, like.
Yeah, we can do the 12th, that works.
I can't do it, but that doesn't mean you can't have it.
Okay. No. 26 small days, so that's out.
Mhm.
So 5, 12, 3:30. And 6. You said 16, 6/16?
Of June,
Is that what you said?
yeah, if that works for everyone. Does it work? for you?
No,
Oh, it doesn't?
23rd is the best. 23rd. Monday, 23rd of June.
Mm-hmm.
Should you be able to do it?
You're the one who's retired, you get the most conflicts.
So it's 23?
23, 3.
So April 14th at 3:30, May 12th at 3:30, and June 23rd at 3:30. Tutorial.
That's some resources I can send you.
So.
We won't,
The round table, so what,
we pretty much
we've kind
done
of
that.
just been doing that.
I think we could take that motion to adjourn.
Let's take a motion to adjourn.
Make that.
So, is there a second? We're at
55.
11.
Thanks again. I know you all do this because it means something to you, so thank you. It shows.